a rookie who has never finished higher than 11th in a MotoGP race, just got handed the keys to Yamaha's most protected secret. And the experienced veteran racing alongside him got the door slammed in his face. That is what came to light at Brno during the media day on June 18, 2026. No misreading, no miscommunication. Yamaha looked at Jack Miller and decided, "You are not part of the 2027 prototype test." This is not just a test selection story. This is a man's career being dismantled in real time at the exact circuit where his teammate gets to shape the future of the sport. And you are watching it happen right now. The Monday after the Czech Grand Prix, Yamaha ran private, closed-door tests of the 2027 850cc prototype, running on brand new Pirelli tires. This is the machine that rewrites everything. With smaller engine capacity, a completely different tire manufacturer, and a full technical reset of the MotoGP formula. Whoever gets seat time first gets a development head start that could define the next generation of competition. Significant stakes. Every manufacturer knows it. Yamaha picked two riders for that test, Toprak Razgatlioglu and test rider Augusto Fernandez. That's it. Not Jack Miller, not Fabio Quartararo, not Alex Rins. 3 active Yamaha race riders, all blocked. Not asked, not considered. Locked out. And when Miller faced the press on June 18th, he did not dress it up. His exact words? "Ah, yeah, because I don't have a job. They don't see the need for it." Read that back slowly. A professional MotoGP rider at a World Championship round explaining to journalists that his own factory has no use for his feedback since he won't be there next year. That sentence should make your stomach drop. If you want coverage every time the MotoGP paddock does something this cold and calculated, subscribe, as this channel will not look away. So why Toprak? On raw 2026 MotoGP form, the logic does not hold. His best result this entire rookie season sits at 11th at the Hungarian Grand Prix, the round right before Brno. 11th. That is not the resume usually handed prototype development. But Yamaha's calculation runs deeper than current race results. 8 years. That is how long Toprak raced on Pirelli tires in World Superbike, winning 3 world championships across that stretch. 2021 with Yamaha, then 2024 and 2025 with BMW. When MotoGP shifts to Pirelli rubber for 2027, Yamaha needs a rider who has tens of thousands of kilometers of Pirelli feedback stored in his hands. Toprak is that rider, and no amount of MotoGP seniority changes that specific calculation. Miller, racing on Michelin for years, simply does not carry that data profile. Yamaha picked the asset with the most relevant future value for this test, and Toprak himself acknowledged the pressure walking into this weekend, admitting, "This will be my first time at the circuit on a MotoGP bike, so it will feel almost like a new track." A 3-time world champion, uncertain at a new venue, still chosen ahead of his teammate for this critical development work. Does that give you a sense of how completely Yamaha has redrawn the pecking order inside this team? Now trace back to where this decision was actually made, because it did not happen in June. In May 2026, reports confirmed that Pramac and Yamaha have provisionally agreed to promote Moto2 rider Izan Guevara to the Premier class for 2027. Guevara is 21 years old, not yet a MotoGP race starter. 21. And he is taking Jack Miller's seat. Pramac team boss Gino Borsoi put it in the most direct terms possible, comparing Guevara's talent and charisma to a young Valentino Rossi. He always jokes and laughs. He works just like Vale did in his day, but with a great talent. He seems like a photocopy of him. A photocopy of Valentino. That is the stated justification for ending a veteran's tenure at this team. Now line up the timeline. September 4, 2025. Yamaha Motor Company officially confirmed Jack Miller's contract renewal for the 2026 Pramac lineup. 8 months later, the replacement is already provisionally chosen. They agreed to the deal. Then they prepared to replace him, in sequence, without public apology. Pull back from the politics for a moment and look at the machine Miller is actually racing, because the raw performance picture adds another layer of weight to all of this. He has gone on record describing a straight-line speed deficit of 11 to 12 kilometers per hour on main straights with the current Pramac Yamaha V4 engine. 11 to 12 kilometers per hour. At a circuit like the resurfaced Brno layout with its long straights, that gap is structural, not fixable with a setup tweak, not adjusted on a Sunday warm-up lap. How do you fight for race wins when you are surrendering 12 kilometers per hour before you reach a breaking point? You do not. Full stop. And this is the machine Miller races with full access to ongoing factory updates, even if he remains locked out of the future 2027 prototype test, while his teammate prepares to test Yamaha's new 2027 850cc prototype machine and Pirelli tires on Monday morning. Gone. Boxed out. While standing in the same garage. If this is landing with you, hit like, as the algorithm genuinely puts this in front of the people who should be watching it. Picture the Pramac Paddock at Brno right now. 2 riders, 1 team. Toprak finishes Sunday's race and stays Monday for the prototype test. Miller finishes Sunday's race and packs up. They stood together for the team launch on January 13, 2026 in Siena, Italy, with new livery, handshakes, and cameras rolling. 5 months later, that image belongs to a completely different version of this partnership. Every resource conversation inside this team carries that subtext now. Setup priority, technical debrief allocation, factory engineer attention. Toprak is the strategic asset. Miller is the key pillar. Miller has a renewed contract, and does anyone in that garage actually believe that distinction stays invisible when decisions get made under pressure? Because it does not. When Miller delivered that quote on June 18th, he was not frustrated. He was precise. He understood exactly where he stood, and he said it out loud so the whole paddock heard it. That is the most brutal thing about this entire situation. He is not wrong. Zoom out from Pramac, and the picture becomes uncomfortable at an industry level. Quartararo, Rins, and Miller, 3 Yamaha-contracted race riders, all shut out of the 2027 prototype test. All either out of contract or confirmed absent from Yamaha's 2027 plans. That is not 3 separate decisions made independently. That is one policy, applied cleanly and without exception to anyone Yamaha has already mentally moved past. Yamaha's forward structure right now runs through Toprak Razgatlioglu and a 21-year-old Moto2 prospect who has been compared to Valentino Rossi by his own team boss. An 850cc prototype, Pirelli tires, and an upcoming Monday test at a freshly resurfaced circuit that the entire established race guard is explicitly excluded from entering. The 2026 Czech Grand Prix runs this weekend at Brno. Points on the table. Racing happening at full speed with the whole paddock watching. And underneath all of it, a parallel competition with no points, no trophy, and no second place. Just inclusion or exclusion from what MotoGP becomes after this season ends. Jack Miller is still in the garage, still racing. He will be at every round for the remainder of 2026, putting in work on a machine he helped develop, managing a speed gap he flagged publicly, competing under a team structure that has already moved past him on paper. Can you sit with what that actually feels like from inside a race helmet? They don't see the need for it. 6 words. His uncertain professional future for 2027 summarized in a paddock corridor. and the 21-year-old set to replace him has not yet sat in a MotoGP cockpit at race pace. The war inside Pramac Yamaha at Brno is not just about Sunday's result. It is about who Yamaha decided matters, who they decided does not, and the very thin line between a race rider and a rider being managed toward the door. That line runs straight through this paddock right now. And the most gutting part, the thing nobody wants to say out loud, is that everyone already knows which side Miller is standing on. Subscribe and stay close, because between Brno and the final race of the 2026 season, this story is only going to cut deeper.